Hey, good afternoon, everybody. It is April Vacation Comics Camp with Comics Workshop. I'm Merrick Bennett over at merrickbennett.com. And we're going to draw some comics today. So I hope you have your pencil and a paper. And if you have a black ink pen, any kind of black ink pen will do. Might come to that, but we'll probably just be penciling today. All right. So today is National Poetry Month. I've been reading lots of poetry. And I pulled out a poem to work with today. We're just going to draw, well, you can take your imagination in any direction, but I'm going to start with a poem here and see what that tells us. That's pretty small, huh? All right, I wrote out Walt Whitman's poetry here in my own handwriting. Whenever I'm reading a poem and there's something I want to understand there, I often write it out. So this caught my eye last night. Walt Whitman, a poet from over 150 years ago, said, I celebrate myself and sing myself, and what I assume you shall assume, for every atom belonging to me, as good belongs to you. That's the song of myself here, the very start of his poem. Well, that's pretty cool. And I'm going to draw some comics around that. I'm kind of interested to see what that means to us. So I'm going to start off my page as usual with a little frame around here. We're going to draw a different page every day of the week. And we'll create some new comics based on poems. You can bring your own poems, or you can use the one I'm using here. All right, so I pulled some lines out of that poem. I wrote them down here. I sing myself. I want to focus on the sing myself part. That's kind of cool, the poet talking about singing a song. I sing myself, for every atom belonging to me, as good belongs to you. So when I want to know what a poem means and know what I think about it, I like to take a page and I'm going to write out the poem into this space, and then I'm going to create some artwork around it. So let's just start here. You can do this poem, or you can do your own poem and see what it means to you when you do this. Like right away, look at this. I sing myself. I've got a line up there. I'm going to start at the top of the page. I'll do a little more of the poem in the middle and a little more at the bottom. And then we're going to fill it in with cartooning, whatever kind of artwork comes to us as we draw this. So Walt Whitman said, I sing myself, for every atom belonging to me. Let's write that out. Nice and clear. Will I have room will I be able to fit it in? Yeah, I can fit that in. You don't want to scrunch your writing. You want it to be nice and clear and easy to read here. So I'm just drawing it out into the space. If you have your own poem, you're welcome to use it. If you want to use my chosen poem here just to practice this, I'm kind of interested to see what happens when we draw this out. As good belongs to you. That means like, it's just everything that belongs to me. It's just the same. It belongs to you. As good belongs. Maybe I'll put another line down here. I don't want to get too close to the end. So I came down, top, middle, bottom. I know readers will read down here. Now this is going to turn into, what I'm going for is a picture here with the poem woven into it. And I don't know what that makes you think of, but this makes me think of something that I just saw this morning. So first I'm going to set my text into, well, if you do a line above and below, you can make sort of a box around it just to set it off. Make it like up on a banner and a flag in a box. You could even do like a circle around that text. And that tends to look a little more drawn. And if you want to point that like it could be a word bubble, right? Or you could do, let's do something a little fancy. Maybe if we do like a curling line, a letter S line. And then we do the same curve down here. And then we connect those. It's going to become, oh, look at this. This curve can go into a little spiral there. And then we can drop that down, and that'll become a scroll. So I'll make the side of it. And then I'll drop a line down from either side of that curve. There we go. Comes a little scroll. There's all different ways you can do these blocks. It's just kind of, this is like a little practice page. We'll just get some comics cartooning one-page experience in. Hey, everybody, thanks for joining us. I got to watch the comments here, too. I'm so glad you could pop in, and feel free to make comments and suggestions. My name's Merrick Bennett. This is Comics Workshop, our April Vacation Comics Camp, and sponsored by Children's Literacy Foundation. Thanks, Cliff, for making this possible. So I'm playing with this poem. So I pulled Walt Whitman's A Focused Line from Walt Whitman's poem, something that I really want to focus on. I can set this aside now because I actually have the poem in my picture. And I can make changes because I'm penciling. I sing myself for every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. So of course I come in with I always keep my storytelling toolbox in mind. So I have some tools, some cartooning tools that I can use to bring this poem to life on the page. I have faces. I could show a face in here somewhere. I'm going to focus on actions and setting details here because I'm thinking of this as a habitat for our poem to live. So the first piece of my habitat, what this made me think of is the action. Every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. So I'm thinking of the action of belonging and this sense of sharing between them. And look at that. We can actually connect those. This made me think of a tree. So I'm going to build a tree into my page. It's going to go behind that text. And maybe as it comes up, its branches spread and go behind that text. And it kind of, wouldn't it be cool if that text was sitting inside the branches of this tree? Let's see if we can get a branch around it and a branch over it. I'm just kind of experimenting. I'm playing with this word, with this poem now. And I think the picture, especially in the sense of a tree, the picture can grow around that poem and we can sort of explore it that way and see what we think about it. You might not think of a tree as you read this poem. Maybe you think of songs or musical instruments or something entirely different. I'm just building this tree up higher. I'll put some branches going off of it. We've been drawing lots of trees in our live draws this winter. I'm just building lots of branches here, having fun with this tree. Now, here's the action that I'm really going for. This is what this poem made me think of this morning. There is a tree by my house. See, for me, there's always got to be a story with the picture. I always build stories into my pictures here. There's this tree by my house that somebody cut the branch. So I'll put a branch end right there and a couple twigs and things. But that is a broken end of a branch. And that broken end is dripping sap. The sap is running right now. Winter's over. I'm going to sprinkle that sap coming down, dripping out of that tree. And maybe my reader will see it. Maybe I need to call attention to it. Maybe I can kind of make that saying the poem. Maybe the tree is saying the poem. Maybe it's singing the poem. I sing myself. And I'll point those towards that tree branch. I'm just kind of playing with this and exploring. Not sure how it's going to turn out. For every atom belonging to me. Oh, look, this is the tree talking, isn't it? I can move that arrow over a little bit so it looks a little more like it's the tree talking. And now it's kind of scrolling out here, down here, where the sap runs out. There's a spot where you can stand, where the sap falls. And I'm going to draw I could put a little stick figure here. I could draw this in any style. I'm thinking what I'll do is a little cat figure. I like to draw cat figures. Maybe I'll make it kind of a chubby cat figure. So I'll erase that stick figure there. Give him ears, maybe closed eyes, little nose, smiling, open mouth. There we go. Thinking as a cartoonist, I like to draw as simply as possible just to get the story down. Maybe this cat has arms out, maybe two little feet, a little tail, little bits of sweet sap dripping into its mouth. There we go. And you get a little drink, a tiny little drink of sap. Maybe a little heart above that cat because that's what that cat came for. In the cold springtime, I sing myself for every atom belonging to me as good belongs to you. And this has given me a little picture, thinking of an action of sharing, of belonging to, and then giving out, just like the poet gives out the poems, right? And we can zip them up. I feel like I'm getting into this poetry, into this text a little more. I'll put a couple more texture lines on my bark here. And I have to decide as a cartoonist, do I want to add more details? Do I want to stop there? Do I want to adjust some things? Is there anything that's missing? Do I think there's anything missing from this? The word singing makes me think of all the birds up in these springtime trees. So I should put some birds in here and let's see how that changes the picture. Suddenly, I feel like they're singing as much as the tree is. Or that is the trees singing, maybe, having these birds as part of its environment. I'm just drawing generic cartoon birds, but we could get specific, couldn't we? We'll have some birds on the side, some nuthatches and things. And this is where you really get to play as a cartoonist, when you take this poem out of just being a poem and you work it into some sort of picture like this. Suddenly this sky is full of music, so I'm going to draw some music notes in there. And it becomes something other than the poem, of course, right? This is something different from the poem we had on the page here, which is Walt Whitman's words. But I get to take those words and I have a little photo of Walt Whitman right here. I'm keeping by my desk this week as I work with Walt's poetry. Thanks, Walt. So Walt gets to be here in the poems. He gets to stand right there and give us his words. And then we get to take his words and create this habitat. Now I have this environment where this poem comes to life. This looks so different to me now that I'm using some little symbols, some simple little artwork, simple little pieces, but building them all together, it becomes a whole environment with all these different characters. And now I have some way as I read Walt Whitman's poem, or if you're doing a different poem, whatever poem you're doing, we have a way to kind of climb inside that poem and understand what some of these words mean to us. And then Walt's poetry will help us understand what it means to him. And we can see how other people draw it to see what it means to them. I've got this sense of sharing and connectedness to start the poem. I think I'll keep all the music up there and maybe just some dead springtime branches down here. This is cool because if we were to start with just the text and use it totally blank, and you can put the boxes around and create your own image, my goodness, everybody would come up with a different picture for it. I got to show you the next step. We're going to do these as kind of short draw-alongs all week long at noon, but then I'll finish up the artwork after our session, and I'll show you. I'm going to post the finished artwork over at the Patreon, and we'll have some of that up on merrickbennett.com, but you can join the Patreon at any level, and you'll get the behind-the-scenes extra stuff. So the next step, I'll move Walt down here, in all our comics is we're going to pencil the pages first, and then we'll come back in and we're going to ink those pages. All right, so I've got my basket of tools here. I'll pull out maybe a marker and a black inking pen. And if you can find something that gives you nice, firm black ink, then you can create some nice lines on the paper and actually have your artwork ready to share with people. So let's go in and do the text first. We'll just show you what that looks like. This is just to get you started, starting with a page, laying down your chosen focused text from the poem, and then building a world around it. What does it make you think of? What are the connections you can make here? The connections you can make between lines of the poem and with your own life as a reader. Now, tomorrow we'll start looking at drawing these out between panels and using panels to kind of give your reader a sequential reading experience, telling a story in more than one big picture. This will be like the cover page to my comic. if I decide to do more of Uncle Walt's poem here. So you can pick your own favorite poem, bring a poem you've read that you like, or you can always use the one that I'm starting from. Oh, I have some spooky poems and some exciting poems and some beautiful poems that we'll get to this week. And each day we'll do a different format. I like my talking, singing tree. I'm going to go out and take a walk and see if I can hear things differently and see things differently. Having drawn this from this poem, it'll be like I'll be able to remember the poem a little better. And it'll be like I'm walking around having a conversation with Walt Whitman and with the birds and the trees. Let's see what else, what happens next as I read the rest of this poem. More artwork to come. All right, you see where this is going, folks. We'll just ink every detail here, and then we'll have this lovely little poster version of an excerpted verse from our chosen poem today. I'm going to try this with a poem you like. And see how that poem changes when you build a little habitat for it, let it live in there for a little while. All right, I'll let you work on your own pages there. I'm going to finish up inking this right away this afternoon and post it over on the Patreon. Thank you to Children's Literacy Foundation for helping us set up this week and share this week of live draws. Looking forward to drawing with you. We'll see you tomorrow at noon. We'll do another page, different format, different poem. Feel free to bring your own or use mine. All right. I'm Merrick Bennett signing off for Comics Workshop April Vacation Camp. Thanks everybody for joining us. Oh, I got to check the comments here. Jocelyn, yes, maybe we'll work some monsters into these comics. Definitely. All right. Thanks everybody for joining us. See you tomorrow.